My sister, 27F, broke into my house to save it for my basic taste, because she believes beautiful people deserve beautiful things. My parents are now suing me for aesthetic oppression. Hi everyone! Today's story will blow your mind, but really quick, if you enjoy this content, hit that subscribe button. Channel's been a bit quiet lately, and your support keeps it all going. Let's jump in. Original post. I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but I desperately need outside perspective because my entire family is making me feel like I'm living in some alternate reality where physical attractiveness is currency and I'm somehow committing a crime by not accepting it. I'm Michael, 31M, and this whole insane situation revolves around my beach house in Monterey Bay that I purchased 3 years ago. I bought it with money from selling my software development company, a modest 2-bedroom cottage with ocean views that needed work but had incredible potential. I've been slowly renovating it, doing much of the work myself on weekends, turning it into my personal sanctuary away from the tech world stress. The problem? My younger sister Emily, 27F, has somehow convinced herself that she deserves to own my house because, and I'm quoting directly here, beautiful spaces belong to beautiful people who can honor their aesthetic potential. Let me provide extensive context about my family dynamic because it's crucial to understanding how we reached this point of absolute insanity. Emily has always been the golden child in our family. She's conventionally attractive, long blonde hair that she claims catches light like spun gold, symmetrical features she's had enhanced with subtle cosmetic procedures, the whole Instagram influencer aesthetic perfectly curated down to her signature poses. Our parents, Robert, 60M, and Patricia, 58F, have raised her to believe that her looks are not just her greatest asset, but essentially her career, her contribution to society, and her ticket to everything she wants in life. Growing up, the family dynamic was clearly established. I was the smart one, while Emily was the pretty one. My achievements: full scholarship to Stanford, graduating summa cum laude with a computer science degree, building a successful startup for my dorm room and selling it at 28 for enough to buy property in California, were acknowledged with brief nods and comments like, "That's nice, dear." Meanwhile, Emily's modeling gigs for local boutiques, her winning Miss Monterey County Fair at 18, or getting invited to be a brand ambassador for some teeth whitening strips were celebrated like Olympic victories. There were literal parties thrown when she reached 10K Instagram followers. I accepted this dynamic and moved on with my life. I focused on my career, limited family contact to holidays and occasional Sunday dinners, and built my own life separate from their bizarre value system. I dated, had friends who valued actual accomplishments, and generally forgot that my family operated on completely different principles than the rest of the world. Everything changed when I bought the beach house. I'd been searching for 2 years for the perfect place, somewhere I could escape the Silicon Valley grind, work on my new projects remotely, and maybe eventually start a family. When I found this cottage, with its weathered shingles and overgrown garden but spectacular views and solid bones, I knew it was perfect. I spent 6 months on basic repairs, new roof, updated electrical, foundation work, before I felt ready to show it to anyone. I invited the family over for a housewarming dinner, thinking it would be a nice gesture, a way to share my accomplishment with them. I spent days preparing, cooking elaborate meals, setting up the guest room in case anyone wanted to stay over. I was actually excited to share this milestone. The moment Emily walked through the door, she gasped dramatically, pressed her hand to her chest, and declared, "Oh my God, this house is literally crying out for someone who understands its aesthetic potential. It's like finding a diamond covered in mud." She spent the entire evening not celebrating my achievement but conducting what she called an aesthetic audit. She photographed every corner, every piece of furniture, every design choice while providing running commentary. This navy blue couch is suffocating the space's natural luminosity. These curtains are actively preventing the room from achieving transcendence. That coffee table is where joy goes to die. The kitchen backsplash is committing violence against the home's authentic coastal essence. Our parents not only didn't find this behavior rude, they actively encouraged it. My mother pulled me aside during dessert and said, "Michael, you have to understand that Emily has an artist's soul. She sees beauty where others don't. She's gifted in ways you aren't. Maybe you should listen to her suggestions. After all, pretty things deserve to be with pretty people who can appreciate them." My father added, "You've always been practical, son, but Emily has gifts you don't. It's actually not fair that you get to control such a beautiful space when you clearly don't have the vision to maximize its potential. You're good with computers, she's good with beauty. Maybe you should consider letting her stay here part-time to help you understand true aesthetics." I genuinely thought they were joking. They weren't. Since that dinner, Emily has been visiting uninvited at least twice a week. She shows up with different aesthetic consultants, her unemployed friends who also have Instagram accounts, mood boards, fabric samples, and paint chips. She's created a Pinterest board called Saving Michael's Beach House that has over 500 followers. She posts daily updates about the tragedy of my design choices. Last Tuesday, she spent 3 hours explaining how my furniture placement was blocking the energy meridians of the house and creating what she called aesthetic stagnation. She'd brought a friend who claimed to be a color psychologist, who informed me that my throw pillows were screaming in pain and needed to be liberated immediately. The week before, she arrived with a measuring tape, a level, and a light meter. She documented what she called crimes against proportion and created a 47-slide presentation about how I was abusing the golden ratio in my living room layout. She actually used the term mathematical malpractice to describe my bookshelf placement. But yesterday reached a new low that prompted me to seek advice from strangers on the internet. Emily showed up at 7 a.m. with what she called her rescue team, 3 of her Instagram friends, all wearing matching t-shirts that said Beauty Rescue Squad. They'd brought a van full of items to stage an intervention for the house. When I stopped them from unloading their van, Emily broke down in tears. Not angry tears, but what seemed like genuine grief. "Don't you understand?" she sobbed. "This house chose me. I can feel its pain every time I see what you've done to it. It's like watching someone cage a butterfly. This house wants to be beautiful, it wants to inspire people, it wants to be photographed and admired and loved, and you're keeping it prisoner with your aggressive normalcy." Her friends comforted her while shooting me disgusted looks. One actually said, "Some people just don't have the capacity to understand beauty. It's not really his fault. Not everyone can be blessed with aesthetic intelligence." When I asked them all to leave, Emily composed herself, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "This is exactly why beautiful spaces shouldn't be trapped with people who can't appreciate them. This house deserves someone who matches its energy, not someone who treats it like a storage unit for IKEA furniture. Mom and Dad understand. They know this house belongs with me." That evening, our parents called me for what they termed an intervention. They were on speakerphone, and I could hear they'd prepared talking points. "Michael," my mother began, "we need to discuss the beach house situation. We've been very patient, but it's becoming clear that you're being selfish with family resources." "Family resources?" I interrupted. "I bought this house with my own money." "Money you made from computers," my father said dismissively. "But Emily's beauty? That's also an asset, just a different kind. She's invested years in maintaining her appearance, developing her aesthetic sense, studying beauty trends, building her social media presence. That's worth something too. You had the privilege of being smart, she had the privilege of being beautiful. Both should be valued." My mother continued, "We didn't spend all that money on Emily's skincare, her gym membership, her cosmetic procedures, her wardrobe, just for her to be denied access to spaces that complement her beauty. It would be like sending you to Stanford and then not letting you work in tech. Can't you see how cruel you're being?" The conversation got more surreal from there. They actually argued that Emily's genetics, combined with their investment in her appearance, constituted a form of sweat equity that entitled her to partial ownership of any beautiful space in the family. My father used the phrase, aesthetic inheritance rights, completely seriously. "Not everyone can be beautiful, Michael," my mother said, as if explaining something to a child. "Emily was blessed with gifts that are rarer than coding skills. Do you know how many people can learn to code? Millions. But how many people look like Emily? She's special, and special people deserve special things. The least you can do is let her express her gifts through this house." They revealed they'd been telling extended family and friends that Emily was co-managing the beach house with me, that she was my aesthetic consultant, and would be spending significant time there. They'd been letting people believe Emily's Instagram posts about working on her beach house project were true. "We didn't think you'd mind," my mother said. "It made Emily so happy, and it wasn't hurting anyone. She's been getting brand deals based on the beach house content. You're literally destroying her career by being selfish." Emily has started posting increasingly unhinged content. Her latest Instagram post is a black and white photo of her looking pensively at the ocean from my deck with the caption, "When you know you're meant to be somewhere but the universe puts obstacles in your path. Broken heart hashtag beauty deserves better hashtag aesthetic justice hashtag manifesting my truth." The comments are insane. Her followers are calling me, though she hasn't named me directly, an aesthetic oppressor, and saying things like, "Some people hoard beautiful things they don't deserve. Stay strong, Queen. That house will recognize its true owner soon. This is literally violence against beauty. Not everyone deserves beautiful spaces. Some people should stick to apartments." She's also started a YouTube channel called Beauty Deserves Beauty, where she posts videos about aesthetic inequality and beauty discrimination in property ownership. Her first video, "When Your Own Family Doesn't Recognize Your Aesthetic Gifts," has 100K views. She never mentions me by name but shows enough exterior shots of my house that anyone who knows us knows exactly what she's talking about. Update 1, 3 weeks later. The situation has escalated beyond anything I could have imagined. After my original post, I took everyone's advice and installed security cameras, changed my locks, and sent a formal cease and desist letter to Emily and my parents stating that Emily was not welcome at my property without my explicit invitation. The response was immediate and absolutely unhinged. Emily posted a 15-part Instagram story about toxic family members who gatekeep beauty, and when your own blood doesn't understand your artistic vision. She actually used the phrase aesthetic oppression unironically and started a hashtag #BeautyGatekeeping that somehow started trending in certain influencer circles. She compared herself to artists throughout history who were persecuted for seeing beauty where others saw ordinary. But the real shock came when I returned from a 4-day business trip to San Francisco. I'd been in back-to-back meetings, dealing with a consultation project that required all my attention. I came home exhausted, ready to relax in my own space, only to find my entire living room transformed. The navy couch I'd mentioned, covered with white slipcovers adorned with gold tassels. My comfortable coffee table, replaced with a glass and gold monstrosity that looked like it belonged in a Vegas hotel lobby. The walls, covered with macrame hangings, geometric mirrors, and those generic live, laugh, love style prints in cursive fonts. She'd even changed my lampshades to pink silk and replaced my blinds with flowing white curtains that made the room look like a wedding venue. My neighbor, Mrs. Henderson, later explained that Emily had shown up with a crew and told her I'd hired her as my interior designer while I was away. She'd had professional-looking business cards that said, Emily Thompson, aesthetic consultant and beauty curator. Mrs. Henderson, who's 75 and trusting, didn't question it when Emily said I'd asked her to supervise the renovation because I wanted it to be a surprise for a special someone. Emily had spent 3 days completely reimagining my space. She documented the entire process on Instagram and TikTok, presenting it as a surprise makeover for my design-challenged brother. The videos showed her and her friends laughing about my tragic bachelor pad aesthetic, while they transformed my comfortable home into what looked like an influencer backdrop. When I confronted her, she seemed genuinely confused by my anger. I'm literally increasing your property value with my improvements, she said, gesturing around the room like a game show host. Do you know how many people would kill for my design services? I charge $500 for consultations, and I just gave you a full makeover for free. I pointed out that she'd never actually been paid for any design services. Her response? My Instagram engagement rates speak for themselves. I understand visual storytelling in a way that transcends formal education. Traditional interior designers study theory. I live beauty. I embody it. That's worth more than any degree. When I started moving everything back, she began live streaming, crying as she narrated, "You're watching the destruction of art in real time. This is what happens when people who don't understand beauty have power over those who do. My brother is literally choosing ugliness over love." My parents arrived within an hour, apparently summoned by Emily's distress signals. Their reaction was even worse than I anticipated. They walked through the house, seeing Emily's changes being reversed, and my mother actually started crying. Finally, this house was becoming what it was meant to be, she wept. Emily has such a gift, Michael. Can't you see how much better it looks? Or are you so blind to beauty that you can't even recognize it when it's right in front of you? When I explained that Emily had essentially broken into my home, my father scoffed. She didn't break in, she was improving family property. You might hold the deed, but this house is too special to belong to just one person, especially someone who doesn't appreciate its potential. Emily understands that beautiful spaces have souls, they have needs. You're treating this house like it's just walls and a roof. The conversation became increasingly surreal. They actually argued that Emily's genetics and lifetime of beauty maintenance were equivalent to my years of education and building a business. My mother said, "You were born smart, Michael. That was your privilege. Emily was born beautiful. That's hers. You've monetized your intelligence. Why shouldn't she monetize her beauty? This house could be her platform, her gallery, her stage. You're denying her the same opportunities you had." My father added, "We spent over $100,000 over the years on Emily's appearance. The orthodontics, the skincare, the gym memberships, the clothes, the minor procedures. That was our investment in her future, just like your education was an investment in yours. Now you're preventing us from seeing returns on that investment." They insisted on helping me move everything back to how it was, but the entire time they criticized every choice. My mother handled my original throw pillows like they were contaminated, saying, "These are so aggressively masculine. No wonder you're still single." My father looked at my bookshelf and said, You'd rather surround yourself with books than beauty. That says a lot about your priorities. Emily posted the entire saga on social media, turning it into a narrative about family trauma and aesthetic oppression. Her followers responded with overwhelming support. Your brother doesn't deserve you. Some people are threatened by beauty because they know they'll never have it. This is literally abuse. Denying someone their artistic expression is emotional violence. Start a GoFundMe. We'll help you buy your own beach house. Someone actually did start a GoFundMe called Help Emily Escape Aesthetic Oppression. It raised $3,000 before I managed to get it taken down for fraud. Update 2 months later. I thought implementing strict boundaries would solve the problem. I was catastrophically wrong. The situation has escalated to levels that would be comedic if they weren't actually happening to me. After the last incident, I installed more security cameras, explicitly prohibited Emily from my property, and limited contact with my parents to text messages only. This lasted exactly 2 weeks before everything exploded in the most spectacular way possible. It started when Emily launched what she called her Save the Beach House campaign. She created a dedicated Instagram account called Beauty Deserves Beauty, where she posted daily aesthetic prayers for my house. These weren't just posts, they were elaborate productions. She'd dress in flowing white gowns, stand on public beaches with my house visible in the background, and create what she called beauty manifestation rituals. One video showed her and 5 friends in matching outfits doing what they called an aesthetic healing circle, where they held hands and chanted, "Beauty finds beauty, beauty deserves beauty, beauty returns to beauty." It got 2 million views on TikTok. She started selling merchandise. Actual merchandise. T-shirts that said, "Beauty deserves better," and "Free the beach house." Coffee mugs with my house's picture and the words, "Currently held hostage by mediocrity." She even created a calendar featuring 12 different shots of my house with her superimposed in various poses, titled 2025, The Year Beauty Comes Home. But the real escalation came 3 weeks ago. I was at work when my security system sent an alert. I opened the app to find Emily on my property with a full production crew, photographer, videographer, 2 assistants, a makeup artist, and 3 models. They were conducting a professional photo shoot, using my house as the backdrop. They'd moved all my deck furniture to create better compositions, trampled my newly planted herb garden, hung fabrics from my pergola, and, this is what pushed me over the edge, they'd actually damaged my deck railing trying to attach some kind of crystal chandelier for their shots. I immediately drove down from San Jose, calling the police on the way. By the time I arrived, they'd been there for 4 hours. The photographer, a professional from San Francisco, was mortified when he learned I was the actual owner and Emily didn't have permission. He'd been told I was her brother who totally supported her artistic vision and was traveling abroad. Emily's reaction when I arrived was pure theater. She fell to her knees on the deck, arms spread wide, and cried out, "You're destroying art! This is like burning the Mona Lisa. These photos were going to inspire millions." When the police arrived, she switched tactics, telling them I was jealous of her success and trying to sabotage her career because I couldn't stand that she was the special one. She actually told the officers, "He's always been threatened by my beauty. This is a hate crime against attractive people." The police issued her a trespassing warning. The photographer, horrified by the situation, sent me all the footage and photos they'd taken. I was shocked to see Emily had been telling the crew elaborate lies, that she was about to inherit the house, that our grandmother had promised it to her because she was the only one in the family with aesthetic sense, that I was just a temporary caretaker until she turned 30. The fallout was immediate and intense. Emily posted a 40-minute YouTube video titled, "My Own Brother Called the Police on Me for Being Beautiful." In it, she actually said, "This is what happens when average-looking people feel threatened by those of us who are blessed with superior genetics. They use systems of oppression, law enforcement, property rights, the patriarchy, to keep us down." The video went viral, but not in the way she hoped. It became a meme. People started using clips of her saying things like, "Beauty is my burden," and "I was born to inspire, not to be caged by property law," as reaction videos. Someone even created a remix of her saying, "aesthetic oppression," that got millions of views. My parents, however, took her side completely. They showed up at my apartment in San Jose, having driven 2 hours without warning, demanding I apologize and drop the trespassing warning. She was launching her career, my mother wailed. That photo shoot could have been her big break. She had interest from major brands. How could you be so cruel to your own sister? My father was even more direct. "You have everything, Michael. Money, property, career success. Emily only has her looks and her Instagram following. Those things fade. She's 27, in influencer years, she's already aging out. She needs to capitalize on her beauty now, and you're standing in her way. They then revealed something that explained a lot. They'd been telling everyone, friends, extended family, their church community, that Emily was co-managing the beach house, that it was a family project where she handled the aesthetic side while I handled the financial side. They'd been letting people believe Emily's content about her beach house was true. "We didn't think you'd mind," my mother said. "It made Emily so happy, and it helped her career. Now everyone knows you called the police on your own sister. Do you know how that makes us look as parents? People are saying we raised a son who values property over family." Final update, 4 months later. This is my final update because this saga has reached its conclusion in the most spectacular fashion possible. After months of escalating insanity, everything came to a head in a way that would be hilarious if it hadn't been so exhausting to live through. Following the photo shoot incident, I obtained a restraining order against Emily. This led to my parents disowning me via a formal letter that actually used the phrase, choosing materialism over family beauty, as the reason. For 2 blessed months, I had peace. I focused on work, started dating a wonderful woman named Sarah who initially didn't believe this story was real, and actually got to enjoy my beach house. Then, last month, Emily announced she was launching a reality show called Beautiful Spaces for Beautiful People. The concept: she would rescue homes from aesthetically challenged owners and transform them into spaces worthy of their potential. The pilot episode, filmed using footage from before the restraining order, featured my house as the tragic victim of aesthetic neglect. Despite not being able to legally come near my property, she organized what she called a Beautiful People's Protest for Aesthetic Justice. She encouraged her followers to gather on the public beach near my house to stand against beauty oppression. About 30 people actually showed up, holding signs with slogans like "Beauty deserves better," "End aesthetic apartheid," and "Ugly people shouldn't own pretty things." They set up on the public beach, taking photos of my house, critiquing my visible furniture through windows, and streaming live commentary about the injustice of the situation. One protester, trying to get a better angle for her Instagram story, climbed onto the rocky outcropping near my property line. She slipped, fell, and broke her ankle. The peaceful protest descended into chaos, and in the midst of it, Emily couldn't resist showing up to support her community. She was immediately arrested for violating the restraining order. But here's where it reached peak absurdity. While Emily was being handcuffed, my parents arrived with a lawyer, attempting to serve me with a lawsuit. They were actually suing me for 1. Depriving Emily of her rightful aesthetic inheritance. 2. Intentional infliction of emotional distress by denying her access to beauty. 3. Career sabotage and interference with business prospects. 4. Unjust enrichment by possessing beauty beyond my capacity to appreciate. The lawyer, visibly uncomfortable, had to actually say out loud that they were seeking equitable relief in the form of property transfer to someone capable of maximizing its aesthetic potential. The police officers, who were still there from Emily's arrest, witnessed all of this. One officer, trying not to laugh, asked my parents if they were seriously arguing that being attractive entitled someone to property ownership. My father responded, completely seriously, "Physical beauty is a rare gift that should be protected and nurtured by society. Emily is preserving beauty for future generations." The entire incident was captured by local news crews who'd shown up to cover the protest. The headline the next day read, "Family sues son for being too basic to own beach house. Daughter arrested at beauty protest." The story went viral nationally. My family became a meme. Emily's arrest video, where she screamed, "You can't arrest someone for being beautiful," and "This is aesthetic discrimination," was viewed millions of times. She lost all her brand partnerships, and her follower count plummeted when people realized she wasn't a victim but a stalker with enabler parents. The lawsuit was dismissed immediately, with the judge stating it was frivolous, without any legal merit, and possibly the most absurd case he'd encountered in 30 years. He actually recommended my parents seek psychological counseling to address what he called shared delusional disorder regarding the relationship between physical appearance and property rights. Emily was convicted of violating the restraining order and sentenced to community service and mandatory therapy. The therapist later told me, with Emily's permission, as part of her treatment, that Emily had developed what they called pathological aesthetic entitlement, enabled by my parents' reinforcement of her belief that beauty was currency. My parents sent one final email declaring me dead to them, saying I had chosen ugly materialism over family beauty, and that they would tell everyone I was mentally ill and jealous of Emily's gifts. They've stuck to this story, even as extended family members who saw the news coverage have distanced themselves from them. It's been 2 months since the incident. Emily attempted one comeback with a YouTube channel about surviving aesthetic trauma, but it failed when people recognized her from the arrest video. My parents have told everyone they have only one child now, Emily, and that I was lost to the darkness of mediocrity. Sarah and I spent last weekend repainting the beach house in colors Emily once described as aggressively offensive to anyone with functioning eyes. We chose them specifically because they made us happy. The house is peaceful now, filled with books Emily called beauty suppressants, furniture she deemed where style goes to die, and art she described as visual terrorism. I've learned that sometimes the most beautiful thing you can do is remove toxic people from your life, even if they're conventionally attractive, and believe their cheekbones are a form of currency that should grant them access to your property. The beach house stands strong, blissfully basic, magnificently mediocre, and entirely mine. Every morning, I have coffee on the deck Emily claimed was crying out for someone who understood its potential. The only thing it was crying out for was peace from people who think Instagram followers translate to property rights. Stay basic, friends. It's beautiful in its own way.